and we will get started. Okay, beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hopping on a chilly Monday night to talk about optimizing this full moon. I did my podcast on the same topic. When I catch wind of a topic that I think will catch for other people, I just run with it. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper than the podcast went this week and just unpack some of the ways that parasites really affect people. I've been working as a holistic health practitioner within Eating Elevated since 2017, doing muscle testing since 2018. And like I mentioned, I literally used to pray for people to not test for parasites because it was just, oh, I don't know. It was hard to talk about. I didn't have other practitioners to really talk about it with. When I started EE, I didn't even know there were other practitioners in the area. And at the time, there was really just one. Praise God for my team and praise God how much NRT has caught. And now we have a variety of practices and practitioners, and we need it because we are fighting a large battle here, which is so cool. So, welcome. I am so happy that you're here. Parasites are a topic that's very close to my heart because they have impacted my life in a number of ways. When I first went to my practitioner, it was because a parasite was like wreaking havoc on my microbiome in so many ways. I was struggling with hormonal acne, which is rooted in parasites, gut dysbiosis that were rooted in parasites. Actually, the root of the gut dysbiosis was very likely from me being on frequent antibiotics as a child from strep throat. And I feel like that's something that probably resonates for a lot of us, right? But frequent antibiotic use, just eradicating my good gut microbiome, setting myself up for this perfect storm of parasite inoculation. My hormones were an absolute mess, extreme mental health issues, just high highs, low lows, skin infections. This is actually something that was affecting my children more than it was affecting me. Constant sinus infections and more. And I can say, like, all of these things have really been eradicated by handling parasites and also just learning more about my body. The other thing I think that a lot of people think, especially in our world, is that in the United States, is that parasites are not common. They're hard to get. We deworm our pets annually, but we don't think those pets can pass parasites to us. There are three main types of parasites: protozoa. I practice saying this and I keep messing it up. Helminths, and then eucoparasites. And then when we look at what these can break down into, these look a little like Giardia. A lot of times people will travel and get that. Cryptosporidium, blastocytosis. So blastocytes, excuse me, hookworm, whipworm, pinworm, more of our worms. And then these tiny ectoparasites from ticks, mosquitoes, fleas, from the bites that we get from other bugs that can transmit stressors into our body. I think that it's really important to note that parasites are in a host. They don't want to be found and they want to continue to live. So their job is to find another host, a stronger host, a more robust host, a more resilient host, so that they can continue to live. They have survived mass extinctions. They're pretty smart little guys. So we got to give credit where credit is due, right? These parasites are maybe not intelligent, but sneaky, and they want to live. They have the will and the drive to live. And where there's a will, there's a way. So it's really so much more common than we think to get these parasites into our system. And parasites multiply in a couple of ways: mitosis and meiosis. And I don't know if you guys can see me, but basically they just split. It's sort of like when you kind of snap an earthworm in half and then both sides start wiggling. They just divide and conquer. And then there's egg laying parasites, larger egg laying parasites. And those eggs tend to have this protective mesh around them that can keep them from hatching if the environment doesn't feel safe enough. So that can be very sneaky. It can make it very hard to, eradicate parasites in an effective and fast way, because again, where there's a will, there's a way, and they want to continue to live and thrive. So if the environment doesn't really lend itself to being able to do that, these eggs are like, oh, I'm not going to hatch. It's not safe enough to hatch. Why would I do that? And so I think that's really important to know, because a lot of people in their parasite journey, they are exhausted. They're like, where are all of these parasites, A, coming from, and B, why am I still dealing with them? Or from certain medical providers that have inquired with us. It's like, wait a minute, how come after one round of anti-parasitic medication, this is not working? And this is why. They're just intentional creatures, I won't call them beings, that want to survive. And so this process of laying eggs, and the process of division, these littler ones that multiply by mitosis and meiosis, they're a little bit easier to get rid of than the large egg laying ones. But that's not to say they can get in a little bit more places of our body. So that's not like, oh, they're a better option. A lot of times the worms, like your hookworm, ropeworm, they're just creatures that infest and wreak havoc on the gut. And they can make a really happy home. Whereas these protozoa based, they can get into other places and hang out where we don't really want them to be. So the blood, the brain, the liver, the gallbladder, and things like that. So the nice and not nice things about the larger ones is they do tend to be more confined to the gut, whereas these protozoas and ectoparasites, they can be a little bit sneakier and get into other places and bring in other opportunistic infections, unfortunately. Oops, sorry, I clicked too fast. So common symptoms that we have come to normalize, and this is honestly why I think so many people end up with parasites that last for so long, is because some of these things we've just normalized as a population and as a whole. Itchy, twitchy, tingly feelings, cystic acne and psoriasis, emotional highs and lows, itching anus, teeth grinding, nausea, sleep issues, abdominal pain, insomnia, anemia, irritability and rage, sharp random pains, fatigue, diarrhea, a suppressed immune system, high sugar cravings, increased hunger, skin inflammation, fatigue and flu-like symptoms, gut ailments and discomforts, muscle and joint pain, food sensitivities, heart palpitations and chest pain, anxiety and depression. Oops, I said anemia twice. Iron deficiency anemia, extreme hormone shifts, unexplained weight gain, and difficulty losing weight. Oftentimes when we think of parasites, we think like, oh, yay, I have a tapeworm. Okay, not yay, but like jokingly in movies, haven't you ever seen that? I have a tapeworm. That's why I'm so thin. Oh, it was The Office. So that episode of The Office where the one character, I can't think of her name, she's like, I swallowed a tapeworm. She was so unwell just to lose weight. A lot of times with parasites, you'll actually see weight gain and a hard time losing weight because of the gut dysbiosis, and then brain fog. How many of these symptoms do people deal with very, very, very regularly? One that goes under the cystic acne, psoriasis, eczema is such a common issue when it comes to gut dysbiosis, lymphatic dysbiosis, and parasitic stress. And so we normalize eczema. I feel like it's something that we say, oh, they'll grow out of it. It does not have to be normal. And your skin is a reflection of what's happening within the gut and within the microbiome. So, I mean, I wish I could say by a show of hands how many of you have experienced these things. But I would say when I first went to my practitioner after having my parasite that I ended up with, I have had multiple, but the kind of large one that really shifted my physical health and my mental health was from the Dominican Republic. I probably had over 50, probably closer to 60 or 75% of the things on this list. And I was absolutely miserable, but it was very normal. Not normal. And it doesn't need to be your normal. And this is my way of telling you, get those critters out. You deserve better. Your health deserves better. So let's talk about why the full moon matters. I absolutely love being able to discuss the full moon. I think it's really important. One of my workers over at Homegrown, she's so sweet, but she's like, oh, that just sounds like astrology and that's not my thing. I'm like, girl, I am a conservative Christian. Astrology is not my thing either. This is literally having to do with the biologic rhythms that occur because of the full moon. Now, it's such an easier way to describe it when we think of geography and how the world and the world is constantly turning and the tides are shifting, and the full moon has the same sort of effect on a larger scale, on a 28-day scale, as the rotation of the earth has on the tides and what the tides are doing on a 24-hour scale. So we have bulges. That's the moon's gravitational pull that creates bulges in the atmosphere. This can lead to higher air pressure and temperature shifts. Rainfall, the moon's position in the sky can affect the amount of rain that falls, causing slightly lighter rain when the moon is higher. However, the change is kind of small, so we might not notice it as much in relation to the full moon as we do other things. Barometric pressure, this is the biggest one, I feel like, when it comes to the full moon. So barometric pressure is the pressure that we feel from the atmosphere, and the moon's influence on the atmosphere, it's called the lunar atmospheric tide. It's stronger when the moon is fuller. It's creating this larger impact on the way the atmosphere is involved with the atoms and what creates us and our beings, as well as animals. So I feel like it's always kind of interesting for hunters because they're like, yeah, animals act different during the full moon. So that kind of makes sense. Usually wild game are riddled with parasites. That's one thing that my father-in-law actually found out for our family was that when I first started doing muscle testing, like all of my brother-in-laws were testing for parasites, and large ones at that. And my father-in-law just went on this like stint of what could be causing this, why. And he found out both pork, pig, and venison, deer, are some of the highest parasitic animals or carrying animals in the flesh. I would say not necessarily in the water. Fish can be much higher in parasites. And they're also fishermen. And he's like, oh my gosh, just cooking it is not enough to incinerate the parasites. You have to freeze it to halt their activity and then cook it. And he's like, I mean, for the last however many years of my life, as long as I can possibly remember, when we're butchering our venison, because they process their own, they'll throw a fresh backstrap on the grill. Now, I've had a fresh backstrap and it's hard to beat it, but they freeze it from now on and then they cook it because they're like, we are not going back to that. And then just really quickly, again, the tides. So the moon's gravitational pull combines with the sun to create tides. And so we see the shift in the atmosphere that comes with the full moon. And so these are just high level examples of, guess what? The full moon creates atmospheric shifts that impact our biology. It also impacts our biology in some pretty significant ways as well. And we might see it in our children, in ourselves, if we're teachers in school, if we're nurses in the hospital. So I think it's important to note some of the realities that occur with the full moon and what it does to our biology, in addition to what it does to the atmosphere. So some of the sleep studies suggest that people experience more disturbances in their sleep during the full moon. It might take longer to fall asleep, not having as deep of sleep, and an overall reduced sleep quality. The studies attribute this to the moon's brightness, although the exact reason is not exactly clear. So I kind of giggled because I'm like, yes, all these people probably have parasites. But when there's more light, and a lot of studies have shown this, the darker the room, the higher your sleep quality is going to be. Your melatonin can really shine the darker that it is. If you are having light in the room, or you sleep with the shades open, or you have a light in your room at all, it's your optic nerves are signaling to your pituitary and hypothalamus like, oh, it's not time to fully downregulate. We need to be awake a little bit more. So this study was linking a lighter room due to the moon and the full moon, because it is much brighter when the moon is full, to decrease sleep quality. Mood and behavior. Let's touch on this because, again, if you are a teacher or a nurse, when the full moon is. Your students behave this way. There's more women having babies around a full moon. ER censuses are fuller around the full moon, and there have been multiple studies that show this. The term lunacy comes from the Latin word luna, reflecting an old belief that the full moon can change behaviors and moods. While scientific evidence is mixed, most people report feeling more energetic, harder to downregulate, more restless, or even more emotional during the full moon. And again, a lot of times menstrual cycles, and this goes really nicely into the next one, have a connection as well. And so if your hormones are out of whack because of parasites, it can really play into that. So there is this really interesting connection between the lunar cycle and the menstrual cycle, both averaging about 28 days. Some women find that their menstrual cycles sync up with the phases of the moon. This isn't universal. Obviously, not every person fits this. But I love to make this correlation, especially during my hormone hijack solution. I think the natural ebbs and flows of our cycle align very beautifully with the lunar cycle. And I think for men, they're a lot more like the sun, 24 hours. That's exactly what their hormone cycles are like. And I just think God designed our bodies so intentionally. He designed nature first and then he created us. And so I think he utilized all these same sort of patterns. Of course, someday I'll pick his brain about this, right? Because he's so intelligent and he designed everything so intentionally from nature then to us. So I love to have women align their cycles or try to with the full moon. And if they're not cycling regularly, I'll have them hack their cycles a little bit to get them there. If someone's in perimenopause or menopause, I do the same thing. We hack their cycle. We have them eat a more estrogen rich diet the first 14 days from full moon to new moon, and then from new moon to full moon. We do more progesterone rich, and we really pull back on any estrogen supportive foods so that we can really align the body with nature in such an intentional way. And so these hormone changes in the moon phases influence the release of certain hormones in our body, such as melatonin, which regulates sleep. The brightness of the moon can interfere with melatonin production, potentially disrupting our natural sleep-wake cycle. So again, kind of back to tying that all in, sleep, mood and behavior, menstrual cycles, hormone changes, they all play into that for us, especially for those of you that are women. And so being aware of that can be so important for intentionality. I think one thing that really, 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 as people start to tune into their body, especially after having doing this for so long, people are not necessarily even aware of the cyclic recurrences. They just know like, oh, this happened again. Oh, this happened again. But they're not necessarily correlating it to A, a point in their cycle, or B, the full moon. And so starting to watch those cycles and be aware of when the full moon happens, that's when it's like, aha, oh my gosh. Yeah, it happens 3 days before the full moon every single time. And yes, it happens every month. This is the most hilarious reality. Like as people start to tap into the full moon, and as people start to realize the effect that the full moon has on them, it's like, and it happens every single month. It's like, yes, us women, we cannot catch a break. Period every month, full moon every month. Yeah, lucky us. But there's 12 moons of the year. Sometimes there's 2 in a month. It just kind of depends on how things fall. But here's what they look like. This is from Cellcore. I just love it. I think it's a great image for the lovely moons that we get to deal with month after month after month. Okay, I have my electrolytes, so I'm going to take a drink here. So as we begin to unpack how to do some full moon cleanses, I really want to highlight that I will be talking about the Cellcore products today. I have been utilizing Cellcore for the last 5 years. We are one of their largest accounts, and that's literally just because of the amazing volume of practitioners I have. I have such an amazing team, but also because their products work exceptionally. They work so well. Before that, I've been doing this for almost 8 years. I was utilizing really herbal heavy remedies and tinctures like wormwood and black walnut, and kind of trying to piece these things together in drainage, so garlic. Whereas when Cellcore, at the time it was microbiomes formula, and then they switched to Cellcore, they added the clinical line. And it was like this hidden treasure when I first discovered it, that I heard about it from another practitioner, Dr. Shannon, and then Jimmy. They're both amazing. One's in Michigan, one's in New York, and they're like passing massive parasites. And I'm like, that is what I need. Parasites have been wreaking havoc on my body for 4 years before I found Cellcore, and I needed something potent to begin to really get these parasites out of the body. And so that is what we're going to talk about today is Cellcore. And I've had, I mean, you guys, I mean, in my clinical years of doing this now, I have seen thousands of parasites leave my own body, but I've also got thousands of poop pics from other people showing me their parasites that have left their body. It doesn't bother me at all. It might make you feel a little squirmish, but better out than in. These things have to leave. We have got to get them out. The body should be able to eradicate parasites on their own. And I just want to touch on this for a second. We do at Eating Elevated get people in who are already naturally passing parasites and it kind of freaks them out. That is exactly what your body is designed to do. But our immune systems are so compromised. Our gut health is so compromised, really not by any fault of our own, other than being unaware and having an industry standard being so low that they don't care about our gut health. They care about convenience. Our body is so bogged down that the immune system is not firing like it should to handle these parasites appropriately. And so with any goals that we set with clients, with my attitude with parasites over the last 7 years, it has really shifted to like, I need to get all these parasites out of my body to I need to get my body to a place where I can effectively handle these parasites at any time. Because I've also realized at no point in my life will I ever be totally parasite free. It's just probably not in the cards for any of us because I'm never going to stop walking around barefoot. I'm never going to stop being out in nature. I'm never going to stop gardening and eating fruits and vegetables, maybe not washing them 100% before I do. There are just common ways to get parasites that I'm not going to live my life in fear or in a bubble of getting them. But what I am going to do is take care of my gut and have it be as robust and resilient and take care of my immune system and take care of my body so that these parasites never take me down and out to the capacity that they did when I first got to my practitioner, which was extremely poor mental health, extremely high anxiety. My skin was screaming for help. My gut was screaming for help. I was bloated from the rib cage down, miserable, not pooping every day or having extremely loose stools, uncomfortable, not well. And I would say since finding Cellcore and utilizing and implementing Cellcore, I mean, what a game changer. Standard process really, really helped. MediHerb really, really helped, but Cellcore is amazing. One that we started incorporating that is a nut-free option that is more tincture-based, so we use it a little bit more heavily and test it on kiddos, is the Rogers Hood. And here's the access code for that if anyone is interested in that. I'm not going to highlight that as much because I'm not as familiar with their protocols, but I do have practitioners that use it and get really great results with it. Other resources I would recommend, just working with a practitioner. For those of you that maybe are on here and you're not working with a holistic health practitioner, not working with a muscle testing practitioner, find one. I think muscle testing is one of the most effective ways to find parasites, hands down. I have been doing this, like I said, for a long time. One of the hardest things I ever had to see and watch is the people who would bring their kiddos in. One case really stands out to me as an example. She brought her son in. Her son's eczema on his legs was horrible. They would have to switch out his pants in between the middle of the day. They would lather him with Vaseline in order to be able to get the pants off without reopening stuff. They would have to get the kiddos' pajamas wet before taking them off in the morning, or wrap them in a wet pajama and then put them in a dry pajama. Like, the eczema was so bad on his legs. And he tested for liver support, heavy metals, parasites. One specific type of parasite he tested for. And the mom was like, I'm ready to do this. And the dad was not into it. And this was when I was still in the shed. And like I said, not as confident, but I was so confident for this little boy. I'm like, I know this will make a huge difference for his health. I know this will make a huge difference for his skin. And the dad was like, I am not going to start him on anything until I get this verified via blood work. And parasites can be really hard to find on blood work because they have different enzymes that can disintegrate them. They're not always being passed actively, which is why we don't see them every time we go to the bathroom. They're not always in the blood. Sometimes they're just in the gut. Like, there's so many factors to parasitic infections that can make them so much more complex. And so they did an OVA test at the doctor and it came back negative. And the test said right on there, like, one test does not necessarily rule out parasites, as they can be passed intermittently. And she was just relentless, and she wanted to do a blood work test. And she did, and it was $1,500. And that came back with some indications like the eosinophils were high. CBC showed some high white blood cells. So the doctor's like, this could be indicative of some sort of infection, which eosinophils, when they're high, guys, usually it's a sign of parasites. But long and short of it, she ended up bringing his stool to the vet, which I 10 out of 10 do not recommend. Please do not do this. Do not bring human stool to the vet. And it came back as positive for the same parasite that their cat had. And it was the same small parasite we tested for in the test kit, which is a practitioner, is very validating. But you guys, this was like $2,000 later for them when they could have started it 2 or 3 weeks before and paid 70, maybe $100 most for my child initial consult and the 3 supplements he tested for back in 2018. So it just was a very hard reality check, but I'm not in the business of breaking up marriages. So we always make sure mom and dad are on the same page for this, because muscle testing, for whatever reason, is something that at least then, now it's getting a little bit more mainstream, I would say, just would really like trigger people. And so I just like thinking back to that, it's really, really humbling. But that little boy's skin healed so beautifully with three supplements and tuna chewable, which he loved. So there's so much healing to be had if you trust the body's innate ability to tell us what's going on with it. So that's why I'm just 100% like, work with a practitioner, get muscle testing done, especially for parasites, because it's so much easier. It's so much more affordable. Otherwise, we do have Vibrant America that I love. The gut zoomer is great. Looking at micronutrients, there are some usually key micronutrients that are low, like I mentioned a couple of times. Iron is one where that can be a sign that your parasites are low. A CBC, comprehensive blood panel, can tell you like, what are your eosinophils doing? Do you have some underlying infections? Are your white blood cells ramping up to work on this, etc.? So there are other options. There are also parasite tests out there, but they are harder to find. I like to look at other relevant blood indicators versus just doing a parasite test to see like, how long have you had these parasites? What are they doing in your body? What are they stealing from you? And how can we fix that? So again, we're mostly going to talk about Cellcore, but I just wanted to highlight a few other things that you can look at doing if you're not by Eating Elevated. If you don't know if you have a practitioner near you, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to connect you or try to find someone by you who can help you, because parasites stink and you deserve healing. So again, we're going to talk about Cellcore, and I think it's really important to know about what products are doing what. And so this is their Parakit. This is the base product knowledge that is important to have. So for those of you that have the guide at home, this is a little bit more in depth. So feel free to like fill this in or take notes here, because I think that some of these products and knowing more about them is so beautiful. So Para One, this is their flagship product. This is the product that gets you passing massive parasites. It's naturally gelatinous. So a lot of people would originally argue like, okay, but this is just the Para One leaving my body. Okay, if you've ever taken one Para One out of a pill and mixed it up with water, it gels up to like the size of a dime. And you're passing, and you think in your intestine it turns into like a foot-long worm. No, it doesn't. It's not that cool. But Para One is so cool. So it's naturally gelatinous. It becomes jelly-like and sticky-like, and it kind of rolls its way through your digestive tract. And it is so intentional. And it's only the seed, the Mimosa Paducah seed. It's so I'm laughing at, I said it wrong in a podcast before. I think I just said it wrong again, and Jenna's probably laughing at me. Mimosa Pudica. It's so great because it's pregnant. I use this in pregnancy still. It's not the whole stem, it's just the seed. So it's very, very, very helpful no matter what phase you're at in your life, especially for women, to handle the microbiome in the gut and to get things out that should not be there. So it just encourages the removal of those foreign organisms, the intestinal buildup. It supports the microbiome. It supports the body's natural ability to detoxify. It's such a great product. I love it. Para 2, down here. My mouse is not working very well. It's more herbal. So it has like alma fruit, clove, neem leaf, It supports optimizing digestion, helping with bowel regularity, helping the gut maintain a healthy bacterial balance. So it's a little bit more on the herbal side, but it's designed to work very synergistically with Para 1 in order to keep the gut moving, to keep the crap leaving, to get Para 2 to get the paras out of the body. So a lot of times we like Para 1, we like Para 2, they can operate independently, but when you put these things together, that's when it really, really is magic. So it's really gentle on both Para 1 and Para 2 are very gentle on your body. You can really take them ongoing anytime. Like if someone is traveling or if someone has gut dysbiosis, you can absolutely take these products just at baseline to keep your gut happy and healthy. Para 3 is more potent. And one question we get that I always find so cute is like, do I graduate from Para 1 to Para 2 to Para 3? Well, no, if we're testing you, we're just going to put the products on your body that work the best. But certain things trigger us to reach for certain products. Para 3, for example, is one of my favorite products if I feel like the liver is also bogged down by parasites, if there's any sort of liver flukes we feel like are going on. Para 3 matched with standard process fast food liquid. You guys, I have people passing liver flukes like it's their day job. If they have liver, if parasites come up in their liver, they have signs of liver flukes, they're having liver pain, they're having inflammation in the liver, they're not pregnant or nursing, that's what I'm putting them on. And they're seeing things leave their body very, 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 very intentionally, very quickly. Putting Para 3 in an enema can also work amazing, which I'll talk more about. But this one it contains nuts. It's really potent. It's a blend of 7 herbs. It's kind of back to the Medi herb that I had mentioned. So we have like the clove, black walnut hull, holy basil. It's when you open it up, it smells very herbal. It's very strong. So we recommend mixing it with water. And it works together to support the body's natural detoxification product. It allows for the ingredients to be absorbed very rapidly. Tinctures do that. You put them in your mouth, they start to absorb the minute it touches your tongue, the minute it touches your gums. So it really is intentional and it really is immediate. You're going to feel it when it kicks in, not necessarily uncomfortably, but you'll be able to tell. If you take Para 3 straight, which I've seen some people do, you're not going to feel more alive than for the 2 minutes after you take Para 3. This is one that after you've been taking it for a while, even if you want to start right away, you could cycle it. If you have those potent herbs that you're taking, and you have larger egg laying parasites, taking it for 3 weeks on and then taking a week off can be very, very helpful at letting your body sort of down regulate around the parasites and let those natural defenses that the parasites have also down regulate so that you more actively begin or you're able to kick out those parasites once you begin this product again. And then we have biotoxin binder. So it promotes the body's natural ability to detoxify. I love biotoxin binder. I think it's one of their best binders. It's ideal for taking with the para products because it's not just working as a binder for metals and chemicals. It can also handle mold, mycotoxins, various other immune challenges that can be brought into your body from parasites. And this is one thing that it's probably a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but parasites can bring in other opportunistic infections into your body. Parasites can be a host for other types of infections. And so various viruses, other various bacteria, other various little parasites can be in your body because of larger parasites. And so biotoxin binder can really help to suck those things up and to get them out before they turn into a larger issue in your body or they're there for too long and your immune system can't necessarily regulate around them. So I love biotoxin binder. A few hacks with this one. Any Cellcore binder, you're going to want to take 2 hours away from medication. But why we love Cellcore, especially at Eating Elevated, is because you can take them with other supplements and they're not going to see and recognize other supplements as metals, chemicals, or immune challenges and bind them up. It's going to keep doing its thing. It's going to let those supplements do their thing versus if you're taking something with like an activated charcoal, it's going to bind up whatever you take it with. It's just going to be like, oh, that can go. Oh, that's a good, your good Catalin multivitamin. I'll take that out of here. So I would say if you're new to the binder world, I love the Cellcore binders. I love biotoxin specifically. I think for the para kit, it works very intentionally as you kill off some of those larger parasites or as you cycle through killing these things off. But their other binders are also great. I love I love BTB. Oh, here, this is the last thing I was going to add. If you're dealing with ailments in the head and neck area from parasites, from die off reactions, opening up your binder and mixing it with water. Like oftentimes I'll have people mix their binder with their electrolytes and drink it. You're going to want to brush your teeth or swish your mouth out after because their binders are black. But it can really help decrease inflammation in the head and neck faster. It can provide alleviation from headaches, can help you feel much more comfortable, which I love that hack. I think it works exceptionally well. And a lot of my clients would say the same thing. It just starts to absorb faster. It doesn't need to wait till it gets into your gut to break down. You open it up, you take that capsule away, you're drinking it down, and it can get into your system much more effectively, just like that Para3 tincture. So again, I will until the cows come home, before you do any cleansing, you have to make sure your drainage funnel is working. This is something, a soapbox I will probably live and die on, because in my past life, if that's what we'll say it, I would jump into detoxes as a quick way to lose weight, and it never actually worked. I had this really stubborn midsection, cortisol face, and my gut was a mess. Parasites were wreaking havoc on my life. Like, it was misery, but I wasn't pooping every day. And then if I was pooping, they were super loose stools. So you have to take care of the drainage funnel so that when you kick stuff out, it can leave the way God designed our body to detoxify. So again, this base of the drainage funnel is your colon. Make sure you're pooping. If you're not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, it is not the time to jump into a parasite cleanse or any other type of cleanse. You have to work on hydration. You can take bowel mover, castor oil in the belly button, over the abdomen, drinking smooth move tea, electrolytes, Epsom salt can be an effective way to get the gut going. You have to be pooping if you want to actually kick parasites out of your body. You just have to be. And if you're not, it backs up everything above this. So your liver and bile ducts. And so if you look at this little offshoot here, it shows your skin, your kidneys, and your lungs. So when people are not pooping every day, when there's some level of gut dysbiosis, and that can be from parasites. So I will also say sometimes taking Para 2 and taking Para 3 is just what your body needs to actually get the ball rolling to help you have more regular bowel movements. But the liver and bile ducts are so important. Sauna, liver castor oil pack, enemas are so good for your liver. I never jump to enemas as a way to force a bowel movement. I tell my clients, after you have a good bowel movement, that's when I want you to enema, because you have a clear path right up to the liver, right up to the bile ducts. It's going to dilate those bile ducts. It's going to allow the salt to flow through, and it's going to let your liver release some of the toxins it's been holding on to a little bit more intentionally. If your liver has some degree of stagnancy, you'll deal with skin irritations, kidney pain, headaches. You'll be sensitive to smells and other pesky ailments. Like this sensitivity epidemic, it's rooted in your body not being able to process through stuff, at least in my experience. So make sure that you are taking care of your liver and loving your liver. Teas can also be a really easy way. Hawthorn tea, dandelion root tea. Those can all be super helpful ways to just really gently and effectively support the liver. There's tons of liver products out there, but one thing I would do is I would challenge you, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I check all of these boxes. My skin is always super sassy. I'm really sensitive to smells. I'm exhausted all the time because you're not methylating B vitamins, maybe. Consider a methylation panel. Vibrant America has a methylation panel. Gary Brecka has a methylation panel. It can be very helpful to help you understand if your liver is just tired and your drainage funnel is not working, or you have some genetic abnormalities that are not allowing your liver to work to the full capacity that God designed it to. And if that's the case, supplementing very specific methylation donors can make all the difference in the world for people's liver health, and then lymphatic and organs and tissues, and then their mitochondria. So that is one thing. If you're like, I have been doing this for so long and my liver, it just is, I feel like it always comes back to my liver, consider doing a methylation panel. It can be very, very enlightening. You can figure out exactly what break you have and go from there. Above the liver and bile ducts, then we have the lymph, rerounding, dry brushing, fascia work, gua sha, chi machine, heel drops, breath work, contrast therapy. The really nice thing about the lymph is you don't need to spend a ton of money doing it or time. You just have to move it, and move it intentionally. Your lymph houses a lot of your immune system. And so if your lymph is stagnant and puffy and swollen and not able to function the way that God wants it to and drain into your heart, which then goes into circulation and then into your liver and then into your bile ducts and then out the gut, the pesky things living in your lymph will never leave your body. So drainage funnel, it's all really intentional. God knew what he was doing when he designed our bodies. So taking care of the lymph is so important and so easy. Like start with the $5 dry brush from Target and do that every day before you shower. Simple. And then build from there. For your glymph, which is not pictured on here, but it's the next, it's like lymphatic system 2.0, the lymph in your brain. You have to be sleeping. The most impactful way to take care of the lymph for your brain, to get brain fog under control, to get the brain detoxifying, the blood brain barrier detoxifying the way that God intended, is to get at least 7.5 hours of sleep at night. If you're not doing that, your brain cannot detox. And then from there, all of the support you're giving your organs, all of the good nutrition or the supplements that you're taking can actually work the way that they're supposed to detoxify your organs and tissues, and then to detoxify your cells to allow your mitochondria to give you all the energy you need to be as healthy, robust, and resilient as God designed you to be. So take care of this drainage funnel. Start with pooping every day. Take care of your liver, take care of your lymph, and the rest, especially with the right program, will take care of itself. So the cleanse key. So this is so small. I don't know why it's so small. Let me quick change this so I can make it a little bit bigger for you. Oops. My mouse is being so funny. So this is the beginner cleanse from Cellcore, or this is just how it works. So when you, if you, I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Sorry, guys. Oh my gosh, this is not my usual computer. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is something that I want you guys to kind of look at and absorb. You have your challenge, you have your challenge days. I want you to really hyperfixate on the beginner if you've never done a cleanse before. And that's really what we're going to talk about. If you have done the cleanse before, you can do the intermediate, you can do the advanced. But if you have not, don't jump into thinking more is better, because it's not. And doing these in a really impactful way for your body can make such a huge difference for how you feel overall. So when you're starting the 3-day cleanse, just the day before, the day of, and the day after the full moon, as you progress in your ability to tolerate kicking out parasites, know how your body does during a cleanse, you can begin to build to that intermediate level, the advanced level. And then in my larger guide, I have a 3-day fasting cleanse. And then I also have the advanced fasting cleanse, which includes a 36-hour fast and then a 10-day parasite cleanse, which is a lot, but I have seen amazing things happen with that. It is profound. With any of these, you have to listen to your body. You cannot jump into this if you're not taking care of your drainage funnel. It is so important. But once you're pooping every day, if you feel confident and you have the products and you know you tolerate them, at least for the most part, let's go. Let's dive in. So what you're going to want to do before you prep yourself for success, and one thing that I see a lot of people either really feeling good while they cleanse or feeling miserable while they cleanse, is on these next couple of pages. So I encourage my clients, omit refined and processed sugars, flours, and seed oils at least a couple of days before you cleanse, especially if you're doing a higher cleanse. But if this is your first cleanse and you're just getting started, just start to cut those things back, because the less inflammation you have, the more effectively your body's going to be able to kick out parasites. And all of these things are just naturally inflammatory. You're going to want to start including parasite protective foods, so parasites that are naturally anti-parasitic. Pumpkin seeds, pineapple, garlic, papaya, pomegranate, barberry, all of them are great options to really support the gut microbiome. And then drink distilled water and supplement with CT minerals. You do not want to be adding more metals and more chemicals into your body prior to your cleanse. That can be very common with city water and well water. And so if drinking distilled water is not something you want to do on the regular, at least do it before, during, and after a cleanse, okay? Getting adequate sleep can be everything to help that brake pedal work the way that we want it to help prevent cravings and to keep the body in that healing state that we want, especially in conjunction with a less inflammatory diet. If you compare less inflammatory diet with more sleep, your body will be ready to kick these things out. Practicing breath work, Pilates, heel drops, legs up the wall, and other elements to allow the body to downregulate can be really helpful. Obviously, we just heard about all the things around the full moon that create more stress within our body. So the more that you can practice downregulation, especially around the full moon, the better your body is going to be able to upregulate the healing piece of the nervous system, downregulate the gas pedal part of the nervous system, and help your body get into that healing mode. The other thing I love, and like I said, I recommend the enema kit is huge. I'm going to email this presentation out to you guys afterwards, so please just know this is coming. But enemas can provide an impactful solution to support the liver and the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is huge for downregulation and healing. So I usually recommend doing an enema 2 to 3 times during a 5 or more day cleanse. If someone's only doing a 3-day cleanse, I tell them you can do it the day of the full moon and the day after. After you get those products in your body and kind of front load them for a day, it can be such an impactful way to really clear biofilms out of the gut, to clear larger parasites out of the gut, to clear whole egg nests out of the gut. I've seen it all. It's pretty amazing. If you don't want to start with coffee, you can start with a like a saline enema. You can do TUDCA enemas. You can do an IS boost enema. There are so many ways you can enhance your enema. I would not jump to a TUDCA enema. That's a product from Cellcore that really opens up the liver and bile ducts to help with drainage. I mean, you're taking it and you're putting it directly into the flow with the up the gut into the liver and bile ducts. So there's a lot that can leave. I would not have your first enema or even second or third be a TUDCA enema. I was doing enemas for like a full year before I tried a TUDCA enema. And I will definitely do enemas around the full moon. I do still do enemas when I'm pregnant. I notice a huge shift in my gut health when I can just keep stuff leaving the body. The next thing to really, really help you front load and prep is electrolytes. I talk about this all the time at length. Hydration will only get you so far. You need electrolytes. You need good potassium. You need magnesium. You need those little things that your body needs in order to really optimize how your mitochondria is functioning. And the key to that is minerals and electrolytes. And so I love just ingredients. I love Relight. I think they're all just great. And during your full moon cleanse, you might find an easy way to curb cravings is by making sure you're adequately hydrated with electrolytes. Lymphatic support like dry brushing and gua sha can help you continuously flush out toxins, especially as you're actively detoxifying with a cleanse. And so moving the lymph really intentionally all the time, but especially during a cleanse, can really help minimize some of the die-off effect that you might have from parasites. Same with the liver castor oil pack. I tell my clients, sleep with it on 3 to 4 nights in a row. Gold standard is 4 nights in a row, and then you can take a few nights off. But the castor oil pack can be such an easy way to love on your liver, to just like with an enema, open those liver and bile ducts. As you can see, a lot of the resources to minimize die-off effects really are cruxed upon the liver. If we can keep the liver happy, a lot of the potential die-off symptoms are minimized in such a beautiful way. And so here are the potential symptoms. And I really want to take a minute to touch on this because these can be scary. And I want to make sure that you recognize that it is your body healing. And if you feel uncomfortable, scale back, ramp up your hydration, ramp up your liver support, but don't give up, because this is just your body trying to kick these things out. So aches and pains, anxiety and depression, cravings, fatigue, flu-like symptoms, headaches, increased GI upset, insomnia, phlegm or a stuffy nose, skin problem. So many of these things, remember the drainage funnel, skin, sinuses, lungs, headaches, can be rooted in the liver. So if we can take care of the liver, it's amazing what it can do to minimize these symptoms. When parasites die, they start to release and as we kill them off, they release die-off. They release critters, they release toxins, they release chemicals, and this creates an inflammatory response in the body. You know, some of these are neurotoxins, viruses, other heavy metals. Your body's like, I can get rid of one, I can get rid of them all. So by making sure that you're taking care of your drainage funnel, by making sure you're loving on your liver, you can keep your body firing on all cylinders to minimize these so that they're not taking you down and out, but it's just like, oh, my body must have been holding on to a lot of crap for a long time. Thank you, body. As you can see from the above image, that it can be very uncomfortable. And this is where I encourage you, as long as they're not causing overly uncomfortable pains, you'll know, like if you have a check in your spirit and it's like, this is not normal, then stop. Don't push yourself past a point. You don't need to be a martyr. But if it's just like, oh, this is a little bit uncomfortable, but I know if I take an Epsom salt bath and really love on my lymph, my joint pain will go away, my headache will go away. That's a different thing than like, I have this splintering headache and I feel so unwell. That's not normal. That's not something that should happen with a parasite cleanse. And if it is, stop taking the products and talk to your practitioner. And that's why doing these cleanses with a practitioner can be very helpful. Ways to handle some die-off symptoms: spend time in nature, get sunshine, get vitamin D, ground, take a hot Epsom salt bath, hydrate with electrolytes and CT minerals. Ginger, peppermint, hawthorn tea, and essential oils can all be helpful. The Navage or neti pot can be super helpful. A neti pot with a little bit of biotoxin binder and a little bit of para 3, you will have parasites leaving your sinus cavity. I kid you not. I just got a couple pictures of that earlier this week. Stretching, moving your body, acupuncture, ionic foot detox, sauna, red light, all of these things are going to help support your mitochondria. They're going to help support you kicking out parasites. This is why you don't jump into, though, a 5 or 7 day cleanse. This is why you start with the beginner cleanse, because a shorter cleanse with less product is going to minimize these die-off symptoms. It's going to start getting some of the larger concentrations of parasites and toxins out of your body in a way that's tolerable. If you're jumping into a 5 or 7 day cleanse with a high amount of product, you will be miserable. It's not worth it. You have time. You don't need to rush. Kick these things out in a way that's impactful for your body and that allows you to really maximize how you're feeling, not feel like crap, not be taken down and out, and just really give your body what it needs to handle these parasites. So this is the beginner challenge. Super straightforward. It's nothing crazy. So para 1 and para 2, you're going to take as soon as you wake up in the morning on an empty stomach, just 2 of them. Throughout the day, you're going to take biotoxin binder. Again, this is 2 hours away from medication. So if you're taking a medication at lunch, take your morning biotoxin binder at least 2 hours before you take that. And you can take 2 binder at one time in the morning, or you can take 2 in the evening. You can take 2 at one time of that. It's just binding up die-off from those parasites so that it doesn't interfere with your medications. And then bedtime, 2 para 1, para 2 at bedtime. One thing that I don't really listen to, and that's because I'm not sensitive, is instead of 10 drops of para 3, I usually have my clients do a squirt of para 3. If someone is overly sensitive, if their liver is very sassy, I would not have them do that. 10 drops is fine a couple of times a day. And you're going to take that one with the biotoxin binder because it is more potent. A lot of times if someone's dealing with head, neck, sinus discomfort, I'll have them take those 10 drops to a squirt of para 3, put it in water, open up their biotoxin binder, mix it right in, and drink that down. It can be super, super effective and impactful at taking care of the oral cavity, sinus cavity, brain stress, headaches, etc., neurological discomforts. Really, really intentionally doing this in a way that's slow and steady can make all the difference to set yourself up for success for your future cleanses. If you do this a couple of full moons in a row and you're like, I feel great, I think I'm ready for more, then you can get the intermediate challenge, which is just a couple more, like 4 para 1, 4 para 2, 2 biotoxin binder, 20 drops of para 3. Again, I would do 2 squirts, but I'm not sensitive. And it's just sort of doubling these numbers for 5 days. If I have clients that are sensitive, I have them double it. I have them do it for 3 days. I see how they feel. And then we can always build from there. There's always opportunities to grow. You don't need to rush into it. The other thing that's really important to note about the beginner challenge is it's a low amount of stuff, so it's safe. It's very safe. You're not jumping into high amounts of supplements and trying to do this on your own. That's not to say that higher amounts of supplements are not safe, but this is just an easy way to start, and it's so effective still. It's not doing anything when you're used to taking higher volumes of supplements. You're going to notice stool changes. You're going to notice shifts. A lot of times my people who are looking for parasites will find them. Some of my favorite client stories, they keep kebab skewers or plastic spoons next to their toilet and they'll just break apart their stool. And that's where you're really going to see some of those larger parasites leaving. I've seen some of the craziest types of parasites you could ever imagine. I've seen like nests of eggs. It's just crazy. And they're all, it looks like normal stool before they break them apart. So if you're not seeing anything, it doesn't mean it's not working. Our bodies were just designed to kick these things out and to compact them into your stool so that it's nice and formed. Remember, it's just 3 days. You can do this. You can do anything for 3 days. And if you need to scale back to one pair of one pair of two, 5 drops of pair of three, and one biotoxin binder, or a half, opening it up, mixing it with water, and drinking it throughout the day, it's not weak. You're not failing. It just means your body's sensitive and you can take this process a little bit slower, and that is just fine. So we're almost done with the class here. So before I do this next one, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to plug it into the Q&A. But again, trust your body. As you ease into a routine with your cleanses, you don't need to do them every full moon. You can take months off. When I first started working with Cellcore, I would do full moon cleanses every month, but I was at a place in my life where I could, and I wasn't pregnant and I wasn't trying to be pregnant at that time. So I'm like, I'm going to maximize this before God gives us our next human. So I would say, depending on where you're at, if you want to do them every month, you absolutely can, but it is not a must. And I would also say I'm the type of person that my gut feels better if I'm taking something for parasites in a small amount once a day. So when I'm not pregnant or nursing, I love Para 3. I think it's a great product. It's really down regulating, super anti-inflammatory, really gentle for the mental health, your mental health. So I like that one. It helps me feel calm, cool, and collected. I put it in my ears. I put it on my sinuses. I put it with my liver castor oil packs on topically. Any of the tincture products from Cellcore work amazing topically as well. But now I do para cleanses probably 3 to 4 times a year, nothing crazy. I'm currently 20 weeks pregnant with my 6th little human. And this last full moon was a bugger for me. I had rashes, I was itchy, it was not fun. So I modified and did a really, really gentle cleanse. I took Para 1, CT Zyme, which works really, really great for biofilms from Cellcore, and 2 binders. I did CT Biotic, which is kind of a binder, kind of not, and biotoxin binder, just to make sure I was binding up anything that would die off. And baby was good. And so within 2 days, my rash was gone. My gut was feeling so much better. And I had some gross things leaving my body, which was great. Get it out, get it out, get it out. In a case like that, especially since I am pregnant, I'm out of my first trimester, I'm feeling really good. I don't necessarily recommend cleanses if people are not comfortable with it, but if parasites are bugging you, there are ways that you can handle them in a way that your body was designed to handle them without forcing the boat. I feel like the amount of product I was taking wasn't forcing anything out. It wasn't a high volume of anything. My body and my liver was telling me it was uncomfortable and I wanted to do something about it. So if you feel your symptoms are extreme, it's beneficial to ensure you're working with a practitioner and getting some good labs pulled. Again, we can point you in the right direction. Feel free to email me. You'll get a follow-up email tomorrow with this info, and you can shoot questions my way. But trust your body. Trust your body. Do cleanses when you feel called to do cleanses. If you feel the full moon coming, if you want to space them out, space them out. But cleansing is not one and done. And I feel like it's, again, just important to reiterate this. Parasites in their life cycle can be a finicky thing. I had my parasite for at least 10 years, a more aggressive one, before I was able to start even acknowledging it or doing anything about it. So I definitely did not expect it to go away in a day or in one cleanse. And so it took me quite a while, especially since I didn't have Cellcore right away, to actually get it under control. But once I did, oh my gosh, you can tell when you get it under control immediately. It's the coolest feeling ever. And my clients, they think I'm crazy when I say that. And then once it happens, they're like, oh, yeah, the fog lifted. My food allergies and sensitivities were gone. I could sleep. My skin was so happy, etc. So the goal is, though, get your body to a place where your immune system can handle it. I am very rarely affected by parasites. Of course, this pregnancy, I've got everything. So I probably caught a parasite from someone. I'm just kidding. But I very rarely can tell when parasites are bugging me. I do cleanses, so I never get to that point again. And every single time I do a cleanse, I see something leave. It's not because I feel it. It's just because my body just needs that additional help. And it's so happy when it gets it. don't give up. There are people that are working with practitioners that have maybe been working on parasites for a really long time. That's also a time you might want to get a gut zoomer, or you might want to do your micronutrients and see what are these parasites doing in my gut. A really good example of this that I will close with tonight is one of my longstanding clients. She started with me in the shed, had been dealing with parasites forever. Once we got the parasites under control, there was a very distinct shift in her gut from, I can tell this is parasites, to something else is going on. Well, the gut had been so stressed for so long handling parasites that once we got those parasites to a tolerable load, because there wasn't enough specific repleting of specific probiotics, and this is not the case for everybody, but if you're like, I have been doing this for so long, Candida ended up wreaking havoc on her gut, SIBO. So it was just this she had parasites for 40 years. We got the parasites under control, and the gut was then like, finally, I can down regulate. And guess what? I have all these other things going on. It's not overly common to have that happen, but also I just want to say it because, yes, it can feel long, but once you start to feel better, it's so nice to not give up. You did not give up. Your health is worth it. You are worth it. It is so beautiful to give your body that grace. So I sent you the link to download the beginner guide to the full moon cleanse. The full moon cleanse, the full length one, it's 25 pages of a lot of this education and information. It comes with 2 of the fasts that you won't find on Cellcore, available on Cellcore. It's fasts that I have come up with and cleanses in my clinical experience. So one of them is a 3-day fasting cleanse, and one of them is an advanced fasting cleanse, not for the faint of heart, but I have done the advanced fasting cleanse with more of my higher stamina, but chronically sick clients, perhaps parasites that have caused MS or other dopamine issues in the brain. And so I've created a fast and a cleanse really specific to that. And it is amazing. It's amazing the results that we get, the weight that's dropped, the mental clarity that comes back, the gut health that is restored. It's just so beautiful. So a couple of things I want to leave with before we go today is please just make sure you're taking care of your gut. 30 grams of fiber a day, 3 different types of probiotic rich foods, as long as you can handle. If you have liver SAS and you feel like histamine's an issue, you're not going to handle probiotics well, the histamine issue needs to be addressed. Work with a practitioner on that. But make sure that you are getting those things, because it really is setting the platform for your gut to be able to effectively detoxify the way that God intended it to. Okay, and then one person had just asked, so this is our question. And if there's any other questions, drop them in. Putting para-3 in the neti pot, and how much, and do you still add the saline? Great question. Thank you for asking for clarity, because I do skip that a lot. And yes, please still add the saline, or it will burn so bad. It'll burn so bad. So make your usual neti pot or Navage solution, and you can do, I would start with like 5 drops of para-3 and work your way up to 10 if you can tolerate it, and literally just like a sprinkle of biotoxin binder. And I will usually, I have multiple of these through my house, but like a coffee whisk. And so I have one in my bathroom that I use to just really dissolve the biotoxin binder in the saline solution with the para-3. And then I run it through both sides, and like, it's the best. It is so anti-inflammatory for your sinuses. The other thing we really like to recommend doing for para-3, especially now for RSV season, there's RSV making another round. Para-3 in a oh my gosh, why am I blanking on what it's called? Nebulizer is so anti-inflammatory. It is so helpful for how your inflammation in your lungs is able to down regulate, so that stuff can actually kick out. So effective. So same sort of thing. I mix that one for myself a little bit stronger, for my kiddos a little bit lighter. So your neti pot or your nebulizer, it has a really small well, right? It's just got this tiny little well, and I will add like 5 drops of para-3 to that, and that is strong. So if you want to scale back, you can scale back. I had one client and his wife, I love them so much, but she didn't hear me at all. She just put para-3 in the nebulizer. Please do not do that. He was like full convinced that she had tried to kill him. And that's not the case. But he's like, yeah, I felt so alive, but also like I was dying. My eyes were watering. Like, it's so herbal. So water, para-3, So good. Um, okay. Spleen and liver pain on one para one a day. They're on liver support doing castor oil packs. Scale back or switch to para two. So spleen and liver pain, I would actually have you switch to para three and add some fast food liquid in to help open up those liver and bile ducts or TUDCA. And that's going to help alleviate some of the pain. Usually, if there's pain, it's a fluke. They've latched on, creating inflammation, creating discomfort. So I would switch it if they can handle nuts, because there's nuts in para three. I would switch them to that and they'll notice a big difference. They can also rub it. For those of you that get random pains, you can rub para three on topically. It works amazing. Can this parasite cleanse be used on kids? Smaller doses of each supplement. I would say yes. I have done para cleanses with each of my kids. I have done para one, para two, just one of them morning and night. I will either do biotoxin or open it up, mix it with electrolytes or carboxy. And then para three, just 10 drops, or for my older kiddos, up to a squirt. It works great. Usually, if it's a kiddo and I would still have them be working with a practitioner in order to do something like that to make sure their body can tolerate it. But if they've been on a program, their liver is happy, their mitochondria is working, like they're able to sweat, then it's usually something that you can do and see some really good results with. Otherwise, that Rogers Hood Parafy kit is one that is really more designed for children and can work really effectively for kids. And they have a nut-free solution as well, which is so nice for the people with nut allergies. All right, great questions. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys so much for joining. And if you have any questions, like I said, I'll send out another email tomorrow, but happy cleansing. It is so good. It is so good. Parasite cleansing, it will change your life. Big blessings, you guys. And thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope to see you all at the next webinar.